I'm gonna be real with you guys. Going to class is kind of a waste of time. Let me explain. So it was around a week ago, I'm sitting in a lecture hall full of 200 other students, and I'm listening to the lecturer, taking notes and trying to, process what he's saying and actually trying to learn. But then, 5 minutes later, I'm staring at the PowerPoint screen and I'm thinking to myself, do I really have to be here? And so my mind is wandering and I'm daydreaming and I'm getting all these random thoughts because I'm just not focused. But then I look 8 seats to my right. I see this gorgeous looking girl. Yeah, safe to say I was pretty distracted in that lesson. But what if I told you that there's a way for you to still learn even in those terribly boring classes? Because for basically every single student, class is mandatory. And so if you're able to use your class time more efficiently, you will be able to beat your competition. And the first thing that you want to do is prime before class. You're probably thinking, Matthew, what is priming? In very, very simple terms, priming is just looking through your lecture slides or your Google slides or your textbook and then going to class. So it's a period of time before class where you just kind of flip through the textbook or source material that's going to be covered in the class. Because imagine you're going into a lecture and you're sitting down and you're listening to the teacher kind of go through the lecture slides. If you don't know what those lecture slides are talking about in the first place, you don't really have that big picture understanding of what's going to be covered in this lesson. So you're kind of thinking to yourself, wait, is this actually important? The teacher is pointing out this detail, this detail, this detail. You don't have a filter. You don't know how to filter the information. And so you're kind of just stuck because you don't know what to actually take in and what stuff that you want to kind of leave out. So priming is going to help you do that. It's going to help you understand the big picture of what's going to be covered in class. And so if you do priming, you're actually going to be way more focused because you kind of know what the teacher is going to go through. And so you'll be kind of more attentive throughout the lesson. Trust me, bro, just try it. Literally, take 30 minutes out of your day to kind of look through what will be covered in class. And you can do this for multiple subjects at once. So you can batch priming with many other subjects. And it should not take you more than maybe 1 hour and 30 minutes for all of your classes. 5 minutes of preparation can save you 30 minutes of work. And I think that definitely holds true when it comes to learning in class. Second thing is you want to take efficient notes. I used to think that note-taking was a complete waste of time and I should just be, focused on the lecturer instead, or the teacher. I don't know why I'm saying lecturer. I'm actually getting old. I actually found out that you could actually use note-taking to offset some of the information that you've learned and put it on a piece of paper so that you can actually kind of absorb more of what the lecturer is saying. Learning is not the same as memorizing. There's a really, really big difference. And so if you want to be able to learn, you don't want to just take notes blindly on the PowerPoint slides. You want to be actually synthesizing the material and actually making connections and understanding the material better. So here's what I personally do. And note-taking, let me tell you, it's very, very subjective, but here's what I do. I'm personally blessed to have an iPad Pro, so I can actually take notes on my iPad. So what I do is I open this app called GoodNotes and I draw mind maps. So basically I can kind of show you a picture of what it looks like. It should be right here. This is what my notes look like in class. But basically you can notice that I make a lot of connections. This leads to this, leads to this. This way of taking notes is actually way better than manually typing them out on Notion. Because if you're doing this, you're actually synthesizing the material and you're actually forming connections. And it actually helps your brain to process and understand the material much more deeply than if you're taking linear notes. So in high school, I used to take notes like this. Bullet point 1, what is economic surplus? And then I would have the definition here and I would do this and I would just blah, 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 blah. That method of taking notes is not efficient. I found out the hard way in university and I've tested this myself and I can say that taking notes using mind maps, using relational diagrams is way better than taking notes in linear form. Okay, but what you do? Oh, but Matthew, I don't have an iPad Is there any other note-taking method that I can use? Well, actually there is. And there's another note-taking method called the question and answer format. So it's basically, instead of copying directly from the teacher's slides, you're forming questions and you're providing answers to those questions. Because here's the thing, most teachers think in this question and answer format. And when you do a past paper, it's question and answer format, right? So the third thing is to question the material. And the easiest way to do this is by raising your hand and actually asking questions in class. And the reason why you actually want to do this is because it increases your emotional investment into the subject that you're actually trying to learn. Because when you ask a question, you're actually, you're putting your reputation at stake. All the other classmates are looking at you and wondering why you're even asking a question in the first place. I don't know, it's really weird, but when you ask a question in class and the teacher answers you personally, I feel that I'm actually able to absorb that information way more than if the teacher was just going through the PowerPoint slides. And also, you don't have to be the one that's actually asking the question. Sometimes the teacher, asks questions to the whole class and they'll be like, hey, do you guys know what this means? You want to be that person who raises the hand first, because even though if you mess up during your answer, your teacher will probably correct you, and it will do something called the hypercorrection effect. Plus, you already have that emotional investment from all the other students around you looking at you. Maybe your crush is sitting, 3 seats across you, and she's listening to you talking about the wrong answer, and your teacher's correcting you, and you're like, oh, I actually need to remember this information now. And this is why the best learners out there, they're always questioning the material that's presented to them. There is no doubt about that. School is an indoctrination system, but the students who are actually able to question and critically think are the students who are going to be way more successful in their future careers. And so the last thing you need to know is you need to regain your attention span. So it's a Saturday evening. Me and 2 other friends are sitting in a restaurant and we're waiting for our food. But on the right of me, I saw a little child. Maybe she was around, I don't think she was over 3 years old, but she was really, really young and she was quite adorable, honestly. But I looked at her and kind of noticed what she was doing. She had an iPad in her hand and she was just scrolling on YouTube Shorts. And so as she was scrolling, I could see like she probably doesn't even understand what the YouTube short is talking about. But I see her, she's scrolling. And so I'm sitting down with my other friends and I'm just kind of staring at her because I'm honestly kind of concerned. That child, to me, she probably was even less than 3 years old. Like, she was super, super young. She had a baby seat and everything. And I'm feeling so concerned for her because when she grows up, her attention span is probably not going to be that good, if I'm being like completely honest. And honestly, I wish I could have like warned her or anything like that, but I didn't want to be rude or anything, so I just kind of let her be. But that just made me realize how cooked our generation is, especially our attention spans. I don't know, man, but like when I was a little kid, I didn't have those things. At worst, I was watching Thomas the Tank Engine on a TV screen, a huge TV screen. But kids these days, you have short form content. Forgive me for saying this, but that just made me realize like we actually need to be conserving our attention spans. And maybe the reason why I couldn't focus in class before was because I had a really terrible attention span. I mean, right now I've deleted Instagram, I've deleted TikTok, but I still think my attention span is kind of subpar, It's definitely better than average, like the average is like 9 seconds, but it was nowhere near the level of attention span that my grandparents had. Because I've seen my grandparents scroll on their phone, and they actually watch the whole video before swiping to the next one. Watch the whole video, the whole length, without moving their thumbs. They would like actually look and watch the whole video. Then they would scroll to the next one. Like, that's just crazy to think about in today's generation. And so we need to be training our attention spans if we want to be able to learn better in class. And not just learn better in class, but to be more present when we have a future family. When we're, talking to our family over the dinner table, we actually want to be focused and present. So I think it's not just my duty, but all of our generation's duty to preserve our attention spans. Because, honestly, there is no better feeling than when you're sitting down on a bench and you're just absorbing the nature around you. School and self-improvement are actually not that far from each other. And that's why I've built this community called Successful Students. You might want to check it out in the description, but it's basically a community of self-improvement students who are on self-improvement and actually, care about their mental and physical well-being. Because in today's world, these things are completely lost to us. But as always, may God guide us on the right path, and I'll see you in the next video.